nothing there, is what that means when God created it. And the Bible said that the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. This verse sets the theme for the rest of the Bible. Everything God does is by His Spirit. If He creates, it's by His Spirit. And that's why Micah said, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord of hosts. Everything God does, He does by His Spirit, as we see in the book of Acts. So here the Bible said that the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters, moving. See, everything that gets moved and everything that is depends on the moving of the Spirit. That's why in our Christian walk it's so important that we flow with the moving of the Spirit of God. In the book of Acts, what made them so powerful, and even in the life of Jesus, He says, I don't do anything that I don't see my Father doing. So the Spirit of God was most important to Him and was moving. In the book of Acts, they were led by the Spirit. Paul said those that are led by the Spirit are the sons of God. So we see the Spirit moving. The Spirit of God is the breath of all life. It is the active, creative, working part and power of God. It is God's Spirit that carries out the will, purpose, plan, and Word of God. So here we see God getting ready to speak a world into existence, and the Spirit of God is hovering. That Spirit of God is hovering, waiting for God to speak. And when God speaks, the Spirit goes to work, bringing to pass whatever God speaks. That's why the Bible said in Mark 16, they went everywhere preaching the gospel, and the Lord working with them, confirming the word with signs following. So that's what God does. That's how the Spirit of God works. And right from the very get-go of the Word of God, right off the bat, we see that the Spirit of God works in such a way that He carries out the will, plan, purposes, and Word of God. Secondly, we see in this verse that the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Later on in St. John chapter 7, verse 38 and 37 to 38 and 39 and 40, we see that oftentimes waters in the Bible represents the Spirit of God. Jesus said, He that believeth on me, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. So here we see the Spirit moving upon the face of the waters. Now I don't fully understand everything about the creation in the book of Genesis. Somehow, though the world was without form and void, there were waters already. There were waters that it was hovering over. I don't know if God had already put that there, or if waters always were. I honestly do not know.
The Bible doesn't tell us.
But when you look at the vastness of the ocean, I mean, God, those waters might have always been here that God created from the very beginning, billions of years before
the world is
He created the world.
Water, there's more area of water than land.
Than land, yeah. So somewhere, God, in this midst of these waters, God spoke and land was created. God spoke and there was light. Now, secondly, what we'll see in verse 3, the first thing God created was light. Because the world was without form and void, but the first thing God creates, He said, let there be light. So when He says light, it's illumination. And all of a sudden, light was where darkness was, light came. And that's important because God is light. In St. John, Jesus said He is the light of the world. St. John chapter 1, verse 14, let's turn there. It talks about the beginning.